This has been Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. You know, the radical right Republican members of Congress, they don't even really serve as congresspersons or senators anymore. What they do is they're weird cosplay fascist podcasters. And so they go around and do each other's podcasts and just say the most outrageous, absurd things, which is what their messaging is for the midterms. And Lauren Boebert just went on one of these radical right podcasts as they go on each other's podcasts. And what she said is that when she was younger, she was lucky that she was able to work at a McDonald's and made a very, very, very low minimum wage at the time. And what she fears is that if the minimum wage is raised, that 15-year-old children will not have the experience that she had of being underpaid for their labor. Play this clip.
Started working at McDonald's when I was 15. And, you know, McDonald's, they had a minimum wage that was low enough to invest in a 15-year-old like me at that time. And so we're kind of doing away with that as well right now. So how many youth are going to be robbed of that experience to start working? And
when I watch clips like this, I feel like Idiocracy does not capture the moment with sufficient clarity. Given that what's occurring now is far less believable than what is taking place on movies like Idiocracy or satires like Veep or anything like that. I mean, is she serious here? It's unclear. But the very belief that it is an honor or it should be viewed as a privilege to be underpaid for labor as a minor, and that we should not adjust the minimum wage to make it into a living wage so that people can be able to support themselves and put food on the table and be able to actually live productive lives. I mean, it's one of the things about Republicans, a number of things, but that they are actively fighting against workers every single day. They are actively fighting against things like raising the minimum wage to become a living wage. They are actively fighting to raise prescription drug prices. They are actually fighting to try to prevent you from getting life-saving health care and life-saving emergency room care. They are actively fighting against you from receiving Social Security. They are actively fighting against you from receiving Medicare. They are actively fighting against you to get affordable education. They are actively fighting against you to try to reduce gas prices, as when Democrats introduced a bill to try to stop price gouging. On every single issue that should matter to you as people, unless you are a billionaire or a deca millionaire, these Republicans are fighting against you, and they're fighting against your interests. And it's not hyperbole. Why do you think they go and they put on these fascist clown shows across the country? Because they have nothing real to actually talk about other than to go around and try to divide and try to spread hate. It's the only thing that they have. You know, I saw this graphic and I want to give the proper attribution. So if anybody knows who made this graphic, you know, please put it in the comment section. But the graphic is of a billionaire who's sitting in the middle, and he's got a whole stack of cookies. And you have a worker who's sitting on the right who's got one cookie. And then you have somebody who is a foreigner sitting on the opposite end of the table. And the billionaire, who's basically stolen and taken all of the cookies for himself, looks at the worker and says, that foreigner is the person who is taking away all of your cookies, and the foreigner doesn't have a single cookie. I thought that photograph really does, or that drawing does a really good job at just exemplifying what is taking place here and what the radical Republican agenda is all about. Distract, deflect, and then do everything for their wannabe dictator fascist Trump, and then try to provide tax benefits and tax cuts and debt relief for the billionaire class and not for workers. So as I reflect on Labor Day, all of the work that Biden's done to try to give workers rights, try to give workers the benefits, focus on middle up economics as opposed to trickle down economics. Think about that people like Lauren Boebert, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, people like Donald Trump, people like Greg Abbott and DeSantis and all of the radical right Republicans, the policy that they favor, even to this day, trickle down economics. Just think about how offensive that is to you and me. The very notion and very idea that let's give the billionaires all of the money and all of the benefits, and let's just hope they trickle it down, and maybe we will get a droplet. Maybe the people will get a little bit of a droplet, which they don't, but let's just hope and beg and have our hands out that maybe, just maybe, the billionaires will give us a droplet of the trickle down. Or should we support middle up economics, where we actually give the benefits to the workers, where we actually give the benefits to the middle class, where we give the benefits to the hardworking Americans to then uplift the economy, and to trust that when we empower workers, when we empower the hardworking everyday Americans, that will spur our economy, rather than giving more money to people who have more money than they'll ever need in 2 or 3 or 4 lifetimes. That's the difference. That's at issue here. And that's why we could speak in calm tones and calm voices and explain these issues very rationally, because Democrats are fighting for you. Democrats are fighting for workers. And when they stop doing that, I may move on. But right now, the Democrats are the party that is fighting for the American people and putting forward policies. And right now, the Republican Party is a party of fascism, a party that works against the workers, a party that brags about not paying a living wage and thinks that we should just be lucky to have, the little droplets. If that. This has been Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Make sure you hit the subscribe button now. MeidasTouch Network is the fastest growing independent media network in the world, because we are a movement powered by you, powered by democracy. Hit the subscribe button right now. You could also check out the MeidasTouch podcast wherever you get your podcast. Just search MeidasTouch podcast, and you could hear the podcast that I do with my brothers, which is currently top 25 of all news podcasts in the United States. This has been Meiselas signing off.
MeidasTouch is unapologetically pro-democracy. And look, we know you are too. So please make sure you check out our best-selling shirt and our best-selling gear, the unapologetically pro-democracy gear. And hey, while you're at it, make sure you check out my favorite shirt and one of our most famous designs. It wasn't rigged, you're just a loser. At store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.